Hello everybody, my name is NCSO7 and welcome to a new Iceberg video. Today I'm going to be doing an Iceberg on Tears of the Kingdom. This game came out earlier this year and was one of the biggest games of this year, so I figured I'd make an Iceberg video on it. Now, this Iceberg video isn't going to be particularly long as there wasn't any of them online that I could find, so I ended up making my own. And there's definitely probably some things that I ended up missing. So at the end of this video, if there's certain things that you think are very interesting that I left out, please consider letting me know in the comments below because maybe there could be a part 2 to this video. But yeah, we're going to just go with this Iceberg for now. I don't really have much else to say. Let's just begin. Breath of the Wild DLC argument. This referred to how before Tears of the Kingdom released, people were comparing Breath of the Wild to Tears of the Kingdom to settle the argument that Tears of the Kingdom was basically just a full game of DLC for Breath of the Wild sold for $70. And why? This is pretty much completely invalid. It's very, very clear that Tears of the Kingdom, while similar to Breath of the Wild, introduces so much more. Though, interestingly enough, Tears of the Kingdom's early development was actually based off of ideas that devs had for DLC for Breath of the Wild, before they then decided to just make a full sequel. Limited Edition Switch. So, alongside the game's release, there was also a new Limited Edition Switch OLED that was made for Tears of the Kingdom, which had designs based off of the game on the dock and Joy-Cons, though no game included as well, which is very strange. Duping glitch. This is probably the most well-known glitch in Tears of the Kingdom where you can duplicate items and whatnot. There's several of these glitches to basically cheat. I guess, and Nintendo's tried to patch out these glitches over time, but new ones keep getting discovered. I guess if you want to know one glitch that I've found, it doesn't work anymore as this was patched, but I guess if you want to know, Step 1, equip a bow. Step 2, attach the item to the bow. Step 3, go to the bows and arrows inventory in the inventory menu. Step 4, drop that bow. Step 5, equip a different bow. 6, press plus twice very fast so the bow you drop doesn't hit the ground yet. Step 7, drop the newly equipped bow, and then you can pick up your newly duped items. Though again, this was patched, so yeah, and also it's not like it's really that hard to get rupees in this game, is it now? $70 price controversy. So since most first-party Switch games retail for $60 US, people before release were really weirded out and kind of pissed that Tears of the Kingdom was $70, as it was originally only $60. Though, considering how many units the game sold, yeah, I would say that it's not really that much of a complaint anymore. Zelda is the Light Dragon. This is literally shown to you in the game if you go through all the memories, but yeah, Zelda travels to the past and in order to get back to the future so she can heal the Master Sword, which was destroyed by Ganondorf at the beginning of Tears of the Kingdom, she becomes the Light Dragon, and yeah, that's literally what it is. No planned DLC. So, in an interview with Famitsu, series producer Aonuma has confirmed that the game wasn't going to be getting DLC at all, like how Breath of the Wild got its expansion pass, as they felt that they had done all that they wanted to for this game, which is kind of a letdown, though Tears of the Kingdom is already a really big game. I'm not even close to 100%ing it yet, so I don't think it's really too big of a deal. Though hopefully the next Zelda game doesn't take too long to come out, but that's probably not going to happen. People thinking Ganondorf is sexy. So, initially when Tears of the Kingdom was revealed, they showed a Ganondorf that looked a lot more corpse-like. However, there were theories at the time that speculated that there would be a, quote, rehydrated form of Ganon, and this would eventually be shown in April of 2023 when Nintendo of America tweeted official artwork of rehydrated Ganondorf, and of course, knowing the internet, they simped because why not? Simp for probably the most evil threat in the whole series. It didn't even really stop there, because people also started simping for Pura in this game because of her new design, and I don't think this surprises anybody. Korok torture. So, just like Breath of the Wild, there's many Koroks in the game that you have to find and collect so you can get that 100% crap once you get all the Koroks. However, some Koroks in this game are on backpacks and you can actually like interact with them. And by that I mean you can actually do like move them around and whatnot. And since people really don't like Koroks, many people create torture devices due to how annoying they can be for completionists, which is honestly kind of funny. It really shows how much you can do with the Ultra Hand ability. Link X Zelda. I mean, do I really even need to say much about this one? This is probably the most popular ship in not even just this game, but like the whole series. But yeah, this game, Link and Zelda in a relationship is definitely a thing. It definitely has to be a thing. Delays. So, as you all probably know, originally Tears of the Kingdom was set to release in 2022, though possibly earlier, though I don't know exactly. However, it would be delayed into 2023 to ensure quality. As while the game was finished in 2022, they took a lot of time to fine-tune various aspects of the game, like fixing bugs and glitches, considering, again, it's a really big game. It's like 3 times the size of Breath of the Wild, so it was, and I would say that it was probably worth it in the end. Last line of defense is Link. When the final trailer for Tears of the Kingdom was released in April 2023, one voice line can be heard from Rauru saying, "Our last line of defense will be Link," with people making edits of the clip of Link usually failing or whatever. I think the better way to explain this entry is to just show you guys.
Our last line of defense will be Link.
Link.
Musical references. There's obviously going to be several musical references in this game since the Zelda series has been around for so long. Just some examples include the Colgera boss fight during the Rito Village arc of the game, as you can actually, in partway through the theme, you can actually hear the Rito Village theme that was from Wind Waker, which I think is really cool. A lot of people know about that one, and there's also Zelda's Lullaby that can be heard during the final catch in the game, which is really cool. There's plenty of more of them. Amiibos. I mean, yeah, Amiibo support is in the game and it does basically the same thing as Breath of the Wild, though there are some Amiibos that have been made of Link, Zelda, and Ganondorf. That's pretty much it. Meat arrows. So in Tears of the Kingdom, you can obviously equip various different items onto your arrows, with one of those being meat. With some people going crazy over this because imagine striking Ganondorf with your meat arrows. Okay, I'll stop. Zelda and the Blood Moon. So after enough time passes in the game, eventually you encounter a bloody moon, which will play a scene where Zelda narrates the scene. Though after you fight the Phantom Ganons in Hyrule Castle later in the story, she won't be there. This is just because this isn't actually the real Zelda, but Ganon puppet of Zelda that he uses to mess with Hyrule in the present. Shrines correspond to light roots. So the depths and the surface are connected in many ways, and there's other situations of this that I'll explain later, but one of the most well-known ones of these being that most of the shrines on the overworld have a light root underneath in the depths, which can make it easier to find whether either one when going for all of them like I did. Dying in the prologue. So there are some keys that you fight in the prologue, though that's it, but you can actually die to them, although it takes a while because you have a lot of hearts. And when you do respawn, however, when you eventually unlock the map, the rip marker that usually is placed after you die is placed directly in the middle of the map. This is likely due to the beneath Hyrule Castle segment from the prologue not being a part of the rest of the world, so I guess it just puts you in the middle of the world for the actual world for some reason. I don't know. Ancient Hero Armor. So if you complete all 152 shrines and go to a goddess statue, after getting all your hearts and stamina, you can get this armor, which makes Link a furry. Though it's meant to represent the ancient hero from the murals from Breath of the Wild, Who this guy is, we don't know, and there actually is a theory about him later down on this video. Malice versus Gloom. This refers to how similar Gloom and Malice are, with many thinking they are one and the same. However, they don't act the same, as while Malice does take a very sticky substance and spreads out a lot in the game, it only damages your hearts, but the Gloom actually does break your hearts, which isn't a thing in Breath of the Wild. So while they are similar, they're not exactly one and the same. Sheikah technology disappearance. So it isn't exactly known how the Divine Beasts, Guardians, and all of the other Sheikah stuff disappeared in Tears of the Kingdom. Apparently it was stated by one of the devs that the tech just vanished upon the defeat of Calamity Ganon as they had served their purpose, though personally I don't think it's the best reasoning. Many people believe that it's more likely that they just destroyed them and repurposed them for other things, because, you know, you don't want another Calamity to happen again, do you? Where are the champions? So the champions are like barely relevant at all in Tears of the Kingdom, even though they were so prevalent in Breath of the Wild. Aside from like a Mipha statue in Zora's Domain, it's unknown why they aren't here, though it may be for the same reason certain Breath of the Wild stuff doesn't show up in Tears of the Kingdom. I don't know. Lionel's underneath stables. So another one of these situations, in the depths, underneath most of the stables are Lionels you can fight, so if you want to go good challenge, try finding all of them down there. And also most of them have armor as well, so have fun with that. Where was the Sky Island / Depths in Breath of the Wild? So it is kind of a weird thing that these two new layers exist to the world, but didn't exist in Breath of the Wild, so where exactly were they? Well, as for the depths, I'm sure they existed in Breath of the Wild, but there was just no way to them. Aside from the one chasm in the Yiga clan hideout, which was the only real way of the underworld, so maybe eventually after the upheaval, maybe then all the rocks created those chasms. That's probably what happened. As for the Sky Islands, they were probably up in the sky in Breath of the Wild, but they were probably just too high up for us to see, as they were lifted into the sky at some point in time in the past. They probably got lowered down a little bit so that way once Link got, lost his arm, then he could be pulled up into the sky, so that's probably the explanations for these. Speedrunning. Obviously, people were going to speedrun this game, as Breath of the Wild was a very popular game to speedrun with how all the different tricks and whatnot you can do. At the current time of this recording, the world record for the any percent, according to speedrun.com at the very least, is 43 minutes and 30 seconds by player 5, playing on version 1.0.0, so good job, man. Good job. Beating shrines in unintended ways. Due to the game's mechanics, there are several shrines in this game that you can do them the normal way. You can also do them the wrong way, I guess if you want to call it. I've actually done it this way. Like sometimes I'll go through a shrine and I'll maybe just walk super slow on the guardrails and pass without doing it right. It's similar to Breath of the Wild in that sense, where you can just kind of do them in multiple different ways, which is one of the best things about these two games. Social media filters. So this was a marketing tactic thing that Nintendo was doing before the game came out. It was basically a filter that you could use on like stuff like Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat, where it would show a countdown like on the screen, as well as some art from the game in your posts. Yeah, there's like some stuff I found related to that, so yeah. Whistle sprinting removed. This was a glitch in Breath of the Wild that allowed traversal to be much quicker, though this was taken out in Tears of the Kingdom, so great. Great Sky Island bells. So on the Great Sky Island near the Temple of Time, at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. in the in-game time, bells will ring from there. This is apparently because it's like some sort of old Zonai tradition or something like that. It's supposed to let the constructs as well as the Zonai know either when to get up or get rest, like it's a part of their lives. But since like the Zonai are gone and the constructs work for somebody that isn't even around anymore, there's not really a point to these bells at all anymore. Link's family. This is kind of more of a Breath of the Wild thing, but it is strange that there still isn't much that we know about his family. We do hear about his dad one time in one of Zelda's cutscenes in Breath of the Wild and one of the memories, but like we don't really get any follow-up to it in this game. It's possible that they're dead, but I don't know. Removed prologue cutscenes. In earlier trailers for Tears of the Kingdom, it seemed that the prologue was going to have a lot more meat on its bones, including rooms that we don't see in the final version. These were likely taken out to not make the prologue too long, but that is completely my guess. Or that was just a concept sort of thing. We will get a little bit more into this later. Master Sword in the tutorial. So if you remember the beginning of Tears of the Kingdom with the broken Master Sword, it isn't the same weapon as the Master Sword you get later in the game from the Light Dragon. However, and when you use the broken Master Sword enough, it'll disappear forever. However, if you mod the game and put the broken sword back into the game, especially later in the game, lots of weird stuff can happen, like it not being able to be used the fuse ability, though apparently you can mod it more and it'll be able to work, which could change the name from MSG not found on Master Sword. It's very strange indeed. E3 2019 changes. So there were of course many trailers that were made before Tears of the Kingdom's release, and there were many changes with that. So for the E3 2019 reveal, like I mentioned before, there were a lot of prologue scenes that were just never put in there at all. There's differences with the lighting and whatnot, which isn't too surprising at all. A different scene of Hyrule Castle being lifted up at the very end, unlike the final versions, and just a bunch of other weird stuff. E3 2021 changes. Again, some of the scenes were different, as they may have had either like different lighting and whatnot. It's also shown in various clips that it seems there's sky islands that might not be in the final version. There is going to be a little more on that later as well, but there's not that many changes with this trailer as opposed to the previous one. What happened to the Zonai? It's never explained why the Zonai leave their stuff behind, since it doesn't, at least from as far as we know, they didn't ever get massacred or anything like that. They weren't killed or anything, they just disappeared. So it is kind of unknown, but while researching this point, I did find a Reddit post where somebody connected them to groups from previous Zelda games, like the Guardians from Skyward Sword, though. Since I haven't played that game yet, I don't actually know how viable this theory is, so yeah. We don't know. Dondons. These are a rare, strange, glowing species that appear in the Akala region. They're encountered in one of the side quests about finding Princess Zelda, and you are able to actually feed them luminous stones to get several kinds of gems. So that's cool. And they were also originally possibly rideable, as seen in the E3 2019 trailer, with Zelda riding on one. Cass's disappearance. So nobody ever mentions him in this game, and since he was a pretty prevalent side character in Breath of the Wild, why he isn't here is kind of strange. It could be that he left Hyrule to find other lands, but it's never explained or followed up on. Who are Pharaoh, Nidra, and Dinral? Since dragons can become a thing through eating the secret stones, is it possible some Zonai would become these beings? And if so, like who exactly? Since they function very similar to the Light Dragon, and we know the Light Dragon is Zelda, so who are these three guys? Could they be like important Zonai leaders or something? Zonai warriors that use certain elements which correlates to what dragon they are? I don't know. The depths is hell. Considering it's below the surface, it's very dark, demons lurking everywhere. It is pretty similar, and while I wouldn't say it's the same as the hell that we know, it's probably the closest hell that Hyrule has. Origins of the Gibdo. So we've seen before how the Gibdo are controlled by Ganon, since in the depths they have that red gloom on them. Though there are theories that the Gibdo may have more of a connection to the actual dead than you may think, and aren't just monsters, as there is a notebook in one of the Yiga clan hideouts in the depths that explains, quote, Under the sight of the Arbiter, in the darkness of the subterranean depths, lies a great treasure. Whosoever seeks this treasure must overcome their fear, as they will be met by a vortex of the wrath of the executed. Which, the wrath of the executed definitely refers to the Gibdos, and the sight of the Arbiter definitely relates to the Gerudo Underground Cemetery, which is right below the Arbiter grounds in the Gerudo region. So, yeah, it definitely seems like the Gibdo are those in the Gerudo region that were executed. Hell, some of them, the Gibdos even have weapons inside of them showing how they were probably killed. So, yeah, this is a bit strange. I don't really know. It's weird. This video by Monster Maze explains more on this, and this is where I found a lot of this information in the first place, so I implore you to check this video out, as it explains a lot of this stuff, really, this interesting stuff. Demise returns. So this was an early rumor that Demise would have returned in this game. This is because in the final trailer of the game, where people thought the Demon King form of Ganondorf was actually Demise. See, we didn't see his face at all, so some people assume that this was just Demise, who was the final boss in Skyward Sword, and was also the one who created Ganon, though this was not true. Zelda in Tears of the Kingdom isn't Breath of the Wild Zelda. So due to all that time traveling Zelda does in Tears of the Kingdom, and then becoming the Light Dragon for 1,000 of years, would mean that the Zelda in Breath of the Wild and the prologue of Tears of the Kingdom aren't the same Zelda, so I hate time travel. I don't like time travel. This is no. Gloom hands don't have a compendium entry. Try and scan them with your camera. They don't register for some reason. And there's not even an entry in there either. Why, I don't know. Well, when you do get to the Phantom Ganon fight, you can scan him, and he does have an entry. The Gloom hands, which are probably one of the most popular enemies in the game, don't actually have any entries, so I don't know. Rauru and Sonia's child. They must have had a child at some point before their demises, since Zelda is related to both of them through their powers, so there had to have been some child to carry the royal bloodline in some way. So whoever their child was, I don't know. It is possible it could be the ancient hero, since the ancient hero does have a mix of both Hylian and Zonai features, though this doesn't outright confirm that this is actually their son. So I don't really know. I'll have a video on the screen that kind of gets into some more theories on this, so I implore you to check this out if you can. I'll make sure to put a link in the description, hopefully. The lack of the Triforce. So similar to Breath of the Wild, the Triforce doesn't appear as the most important artifacts in the game, but are instead the secret stones. Why the Triforce doesn't show up in this game, I don't know. I would say that it probably does exist in this universe in some way, shape, or form, as the design is present in certain areas in the game, though it still doesn't make a physical appearance. Also, if you want to count like in Breath of the Wild when Zelda uses her full power, but I don't think it was actually the Triforce. It was just more of a sign that, you know what I mean. Scrapped Sky Islands. So, going back to the E3 2021 trailer, I mentioned this a little bit. Near the end of the trailer, you can see Link on a sky island with a set of sky islands in what seems to be the Hyrule Ridge archipelago. However, these are not in the final version of the game, and even other shots in this trailer do make it seem that there were going to be more to the sky region, which could explain why in the final game the sky region is probably the most barren area in the game, because there was supposed to be more originally. This might have been so that way the sky wasn't too cluttered, but honestly, it would have been kind of nice to see some more stuff, especially some unique islands as well, not just repeats of what we saw before. Where is Tears of the Kingdom in the timeline? Oh god. Since this game involves time travel, again, figuring out where Tears of the Kingdom goes in the overall Zelda timeline is not easy. While yes, it is a direct sequel to Breath of the Wild, Zelda time travels to ancient Hyrule, which could be even before Skyward Sword, which was the original earliest point in the game. So since the timeline is so confusing in the first place, I'm not going over it. Go find somebody else to explain this point, because I cannot. I don't know how to speak. The Zonai created monsters. Since evil monsters existed before Ganondorf became the Demon King, would that mean the Zonai created the monsters in some way? Could it be the reason they left Hyrule? It is believed that the shrines were made to ward off evil, so maybe they created demons and that this was their solution. Draconification in real life. There are theories that there are certain snakes in the world that could transform you into an eternal dragon, though have been outlawed for being extremely dangerous to the world. Hestu's gift is significant. The gift Hestu gives you after collecting all the Korok seeds can be one of the most useful items in the game, as through certain methods can one-shot anything in the game, including Ganondorf himself. How this is done isn't confirmed just yet, but it is believed through some weird theories that it might maybe work. The future of the Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom games. No one knows what'll happen afterwards. Will we get a Breath of the Wild 3, or maybe just a new style for Zelda? Maybe going back to the more traditional formula? Only time will tell. And that was the Tears of the Kingdom Iceberg. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys learned something new. And again, let me know in the comments below if there's things that I should have included on the iceberg, because again, this is a potential iceberg that could get a part 2 made of it sometime soon, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm going to have some more icebergs in 2024. I'm not sure when they're going to come out. They probably won't come out for a while, but I hope you guys still enjoy this one, and I don't really have much else to say. I'd say take it easy, have a good day, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out and take care.